Hey guys, Michael Ketchen here with another episode of the Michael Ketchen Show, joined as always by Matthew Hitchcock and one of my favorite people on the planet, Junior Anziani. How we doing, Junior?
Doing well. I heard you say that to everybody, though, so I don't know if I'm really your favorite person.
No, I do not say that to everybody. I say it to some people. Some people, if I don't say it, maybe they can read the fucking room. You know what I mean? It's like, truly, though, one of my favorite people. So we connected on social media years ago.
Yes.
And funny enough, I actually thought, if you remember, I told you I thought you were a former. I had you confused at first. Somebody, and then we met, and I had taught one of your cousins, fortunately passed away, memory, Eric. I wanted to start with that because one of my favorite students I had a great relationship with. But I'm so glad he brought us together. That's how you found me, found that. And I got to tell you, I brag on a lot of people that I've taught, coached, mentored, whatever. But man, am I proud of you. You are the definition of betting yourself, sir. So with that said, let's get right into it. Why don't you tell me, Matt, and the people, what are you up to today? What does that look like? And what do you got cooking?
Yeah, so right now I run an IT company. And we started this business probably 3 years ago as a side hustle. You heard about it a little bit and said, why the hell do you want to go change toilets? And it became a real business idea after that, actually. After that conversation, I was like, you know, this actually makes money. I can go full time with it. It doesn't have to just be real estate. And I wanted to do real estate because my dad did real estate. My dad owned houses, he owned multis. We went through the whole gambit with it. I did a lot of free child labor, as I like to say, changing floors and all that stuff.
A lot of sweat equity?
Lots of sweat equity. And my dad ended up selling the house. And to this day, he still lives off what he sold the houses for.
Yeah.
But now I'm running my IT company. And I said, it's not just real estate. I could actually make a business play out of doing IT, which I'm very passionate about. I've been doing it since I was probably 13, a lot of free child labor there, which also comes from my dad. Set up POS systems back in the day for pizzerias and different places. And I'm doing that now, but for at a bigger scale, larger scale. And I have one advantage that my dad didn't have is I could actually speak English pretty well. So when I'm frustrated, I can get that across without yelling, where my dad's still working on that.
You know what, though? And people, the high school used to work in, and that doesn't get talked about enough. And it goes back to, like, things that people don't know that happen in this country, right? One of the wildest things about Lawrence when we were teaching there is people would get mad at these kids. They didn't realize 98% of our kids' first language in that school, I mean, you're talking about 3,000 kids. In school district, it's probably over 10,000, whatever the hell it is. Their first language is in English. So these kids were going home and they were translating for their parents.
Yeah.
So it's like you go home and you're like, let me go play, fucking Little League or whatever. And listen, I'm not making the mindset of the victim or anything, but my point that I'm making is that's a great example of it's something else people don't consider when you're thinking about all the factors and the time and the reps, is that, it sounds like your dad was, like a lot of Dominicans in that area, like you were the translator for English for that first, I call it that first generation American. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We take that for granted. Like, it's just how we grew up. We had our parents that spoke English, and you guys, obviously. The nice thing, though, is that you guys got to have that dual language, which, I mean,
in the moment, it doesn't feel like much of a blessing.
It was hard. It's like, why am I reading these legal documents that are coming over and translating? I don't want to know your legal issues, Yeah. And my wife to this day still does that for her mom. If without my wife, her mom can't do much right now, right? And my parents were able to pick up the language. My dad right now works, at BAE Systems, which I don't know.
So clearly, you use this hardship as an excuse to be a victim, to not do anything, to whine, right? That's what you did?
Yes, of course. That's why I'm here right now.
No, it's not. It's like going to be a multimillionaire with your business that you're absolutely crushing. So back to that. So you get Junior joins the real estate mastermind to learn about real estate investing, and we go out and we meet. And do you remember what I said to you?
You said, why do I want to change toilet? That's not the game. If you're getting paid that much, that's your business idea. That's your $1 million. It's you told me that's your vehicle to wealth. There's many vehicles to wealth, and that's yours. It doesn't have to be real estate. And you should be a passive investor if you really like real estate.
I'm such a good real estate investor and real estate coach that I take people's money to teach them real estate investing and get them out of real estate.
and that's what he told me. He's like, I'm sorry that you paid this much money to do this right now, but this is not what you're going to do. This is what you want to do. And I told you this before. Like you said, it's a vehicle. That money was worth every penny I paid because it wasn't in real estate, but everything you taught in that class, I do it to this day in my business. It's all the same. How you go find people, how you go find deals, how you're going to execute on your deals, what's your playbook like. And then now that you're working on building your staff, we talk about this all the time. It's like, how do you now use leverage? How do you leverage your time? How do you bring other people to do the work? It's not what, it's who. Like, who can do that for you?
Yeah.
Right? Who can get the work done? But you're the one that's kind of like masterminding it all. And that's why I think it's worth every penny. Even if it wasn't real estate, I've actually adapted all of that.
That's
even
good, because there were no
calling.
refunds. Just so you know. So that's good.
That's what I'm here for right now, actually.
Yeah, I know. We got, and actually, shout out to 2 books that we'll link in the show notes. Who Not How, which you should definitely check out, and Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Yeah.
And those 2 things are critical. I mean, we talk about scaling business. I mean, think about how much staff we have. And we're having our staff retreat this week, and it's literally insane that, like, poor Kaylee's been working around the clock to put together this agenda of, like, we're doing some yoga. Of course, it's not hard for Matt and Hannah. They're in great shape. The rest of us, like, when we die, be up there,
Saunas,
rip something. You know
a
what I mean?
salt bath, maybe.
Oh, I would do the salt bath. That sounds pretty good. I like the sauna too. Staying with the technology company though. The point that I want everyone to learn there is so the way the conversation went was this. Everybody can start real estate investing at a different time. We all started our journey at a different point. And the point that I was making to Junior was he was making well into the 6 figures with basically a 6-figure side hustle on top of that. And the takeaway was if you bought 1-3 family to maybe make $1,000 a month in cash flow, that wasn't a good use of your time. If you're just starting out, that can be a good use of your time, but you got to understand where you're at. And I think you're able to take that and package that. What I like about it is, yeah, I can give the advice, but you were able to execute. So you go out, you start the company. What was your, I mean, for context, Junior was a very successful W-2 job, making, as I mentioned, well into the 6 figures. Yeah. You decided to bet on yourself and go on your own. What was that roadmap like?
So I'd been doing the business for about 2.5 years as a side hustle. And I'd been working just hourly, learning how to package, reading books on how to structure all my pricing and everything like that. And when I really decided after our conversation that I was going to go full time in it, that was about a year before I left my job. Mm-hmm. And at that point I said, okay, I need to get to this number. Once I get to this number, that's when I could leave my job. Once I got to that number, I'm like, yeah, I still can't leave my job. We got to keep working on it, right? But I started to learn about what that freedom number really was. Like, what do I have to make in order to get to a point where I can live off of this, which I do now. And then I started working towards that. And I started working on contracts. And the books are saying, you know, your contracts aren't worth anything if it's a month to month. Here's what a 3-year looks like. Here's what a 2-year. And I got really obsessed with how private equity looks at these businesses and how they evaluate the business. So they'll give you 5 times multiple if you have a 3-year contract versus a 2 times multiple for a 1-year contract, right? And I don't want to sell the business at all, but I want it to be valuable because I want to leverage my business for my lifestyle and for my kids and for everything else that I'm building right now. So once I got very obsessed with that, I went to a couple conferences about it, and I'm just there like, yeah, I got this one customer, you know, I'm trying to learn about this business and all this pricing model. And then we got it. Now I got my packaging down. I got my pricing down. I know how I'm working. And then June of last year, I said, we're at a number where I'm comfortable. My wife just picked up another job. I'm blessed to have my wife. She also made 6 figures, so it made it a little bit easier to transition. And when I
blasted Matt in a smoke cloud. Sorry, that just that was the most aggressive smoke cloud I have ever had, and I
saw it wafting, and I was like, let me hold my breath.
Thing.
What I liked is it sounds like that you really defined what your goals were. It wasn't like I want to make an obscure random amount of money. Like you were very detailed all the way through the process of making your decision, which I think is super important.
He had a great teacher who told him start with the end in mind. So
there you go.
Hashtag, bet on yourself. But no, in all seriousness, what you said there to unpack that was so impactful that people don't think about enough of the business. It's funny. I've been thinking about a lot with our stuff. It's like, and I got a buddy, Reed Hamilton. Shout out to Reed. Lines up what you just said. We always think of buying a building like who's our end buyer. Now I'm realizing I'm thinking about our business strategically of who's our exit for this iteration, right? And it's like, when you start thinking about like even like a little detail that probably went over people's heads, so I want to bring it back up again. You understanding that the way your company is going to be valued is tied to the contract language. Now, if you do want to exit, you have options. If you want to go get a line of credit, you have options. You have leverage. That was intentional and thinking through your goals with clarity and focus. Yep. People are so often afraid to bet on themselves because it's unclear. How did you get in the headspace to say, I am going to walk away from a couple $100,000 a year? I'm going to walk away from what is perceived as security. What did that process look like?
It really came back. I mean, we talked about this a lot of times. Golden handcuffs. It's so great that you don't want to leave. And at some point, that what if I would have left was in my mind. So when I got into that mindset, I said, my worst case scenario is I'll be right back here again. Yep. Literally, my worst case scenario is I'll be back at a 9 to 5. Knock on wood, I'll still make 6 figures because that's just the career I built. You know, it wasn't given to me. You know, people don't understand. I started working at Geek Squad for $11 an hour. you know. And
I
I
could
went.
definitely see Junior at Geek Squad. You just see him, he's like annoyed with you. He's like, oh, watching those dirty websites again, huh? Huh, Chuck? So you got the virus on there again?
So, but I did work at Geek Squad, and I went through all that. You know, it was $11 an hour, and I still treated it like a real job, and I learned a lot there. And when I went to my first corporate job, I was not making six figures. I was making $50,000 a year. And that job, I gave everything. I gave it like I was making $1 million a year. I thought I was the owner of that company. I traveled. There was a point where I traveled weekly for the first 6 months of the year. Wow. Every week I was between here, DC, Ohio, Florida, anywhere I had to go, I would go for that business. So I was just like, you know, I built a career on it. I have the network that I need to tap if I ever have to go back. And I know sometimes people say burn the boats. Like, yeah, you burn the boats, you don't go back. But this is a career you built over 15, 20 years. It's not going to go away. No matter how many boats you burn, it's not going to go away. Once you go knock on the door, once you apply to a job and you talk the talk, not just walk the walk, then people are going to let you in and you're going to make that same amount of money. It might not be the same golden handcuffs that you had, but you're going to live comfortably no matter what.
Yeah.
So in my mind, that was my worst case scenario. My worst case scenario is I will be right here.
Yeah.
You know, and as I exited that, I tried to do it in a really good way. And the director, you know, the COO of that company wrote to me the other day. He's like, I was just thinking about you just in case, you know, like that door's open.
Hey, does he want to invest?
Everybody wants to invest,
That's
right?
right.
They just don't want to pull the trigger when it's time to actually pull the trigger, right?
Everyone's a shooter until it's time to squeeze.
So that's kind of what it is. Everybody has opened the door. I have people still calling me from my past. That's from my network. And they're the ones that are driving business because they know who I am. They know what I do. So that's why I was okay with it. And I said, you know, give it a year, give it 2 years, give it 3 years. We're coming up this month on a year in June, 1 year that I left my job. And my wife just joined me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a golden trajectory. I mean, that's, you said it sounds very similar to our story.
Yeah, very similar. Like we knew worst case scenario, we can go back to doing what we were doing, but what if we really make a good run at it? And at that point too, I mean, we already started to kind of understand the business and we were doing well. So we just knew that if we went full time at it, I mean, the odds were pretty much in our favor. I feel like that it was going to work out.
I don't know. I shared a story the other day and it's amazing. The mindset shift, when you start to realize that money is just a tool. I shared a story the other day where I made I made an amount of money in one day. I made $30,000 in one day. We made more than that, wasn't the point. But the reason why I kept thinking about it all day was that was our experience, and I was a partner. I was basically a limited partner on the deal. It was part of the GP, the general partner. That's irrelevant. But the point was, one, I realized, oh my God, this used to be like, I don't know what it was, like 14 of my teacher paychecks or 12, or some crazy number. But I also realized when we first started the company in 2018 or 2017, we went on our own. We started to take our first owner's draw because the first year and a half, you're not doing anything. That first year, I took $36,000 was my distribution. And I'm like, I just made more in one day from a building I've never seen by being a partner in one phone call and transaction. That's literally what the salary was the first year we went on our own. And I was like, you just see that growth when you bet on yourself and you're in the headspace. And I want people to realize, like, we as society, Junior, another example is we focus on the outcome. It's like, no, look at the process. Think of everything Junior just said. The mindset, hey, my worst case, if I fail, is what I'm doing today. I'm going to put myself in this room. So I'm going to invest in education. I'm going to be willing to pivot. I'm going to start a side hustle. It sounds to me like you weren't fucking Netflix and chilling. You weren't playing a lot of Call of Duty. You're going to network events. You're going to meetups. You're reading books. You're investing in your trade. And it pays off. Now everyone sees the other side, right? Oh, he's out doing it. His wife's out doing it. Must be nice, right? That must be nice. And they don't see the work behind it. So to quote my friend Zach, right, who's going to be on this podcast later today, you're goddamn right it's nice, all right? It's a great quote he always tells me. But my point is, we see that process. I want to pivot, though, real quick, because you're doing something really cool with us. So a lot of people know when we manage our properties, we use a lot of smart technology to allow us to manage remotely. We're one of the few property management companies in the country that manages their entire portfolio remotely. You were a vital part of that. We kind of met. You took that to another step. I think this is the way technology is going with multifamily. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah.
And real estate in general.
Yeah.
How are you, talk a little bit about that space and what you're seeing, what's coming, what you got going on.
Yeah, so the biggest downfall of being in IT is everybody thinks you're a cost center. Once you could flip that around and make it a profit center, then everybody loves you, right? And that's what we're doing now. The amount of money you save, the amount of time you save and headache you save by having control over your property, no matter where you are, It's the same thing in any business. The more control you have, the better. So with the smart locks, the wireless in the units or in the buildings, and all that control you have, you're not changing keys anymore.
Yep.
You could have self-guided tours on your apartments if you want. Somebody just goes to your website. They say, hey, I want to see this apartment. You approve it. They get this code. They walk themselves in. They come back. I like it. Finish the application. You say yes. You never have to see the people. You never have to pay somebody to go do it. They just do it all on their own. So imagine the money you save. Most agents will charge you, 1 month's rent? If they're showing an apartment,
like that,
maybe 1 to 2 months rent. You could cut that out completely just by having the smart tech in place.
Yep.
And you don't even have to manage it. If you want to automatically allow it to do the showings, set up a time, and then it's secure.
Yep.
And the reason it's secure is your doors are always locked. Those people are going to get in with a code. Once that code expires, they can never get in again.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think it's funny too when we talk to investors about this in our business model. Remember we were talking to one time, and they were like, "Yeah, but they're just going to go in, and what happens if they ruin the apartment?" And I was like, "But you realize that people go to Airbnbs all the time, and they check in with nobody."
Yep. Oh, not only that. I mean, we've got their personal information.
Yeah.
They're on camera.
Correct.
You have insurance. Yep. I mean, you got to be pretty dumb to go in to destroy something where I got you on camera and I got your personal information. Mm-hmm. And we've done at this point thousands of self-guided tours. Yeah. We've never had a problem.
And think about this, right? You go with an agent, they have a key lock box on there, right? Somebody looks over their shoulder, gets in the key lock box, they know the code. How long is it going to take them to go change that code? One? And that person who has keys now, which is probably like a master key or something that people leave in there, which they shouldn't, but it's probably one of those keys, that person can get into the apartment. You'll never know. What? And you have no logs, no recollection of what happened.
I think the most, and we have water leak detection devices. I mean, you could go on with the tech. I think as an investor, the thing that's most powerful for us that it does is it creates leverage. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is every business today, and ours is no different in the property management side, is short on human capital. And it's the hardest thing in the world to get a good staff member that works one place, one site, and then be able to recreate that. So with the remote management and the technology, we're able to take good staff, and now they're not property specific.
Yep.
Right? They're able to do parts of the portfolio, the whole portfolio. So you're getting that leverage on good people, which is freeing you up to grow the business. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. You know what I mean? Are there any cool things coming out that you want to talk about for the tech side?
It's always changing. Wi-Fi locks are becoming a thing now. We're really playing with them versus the wireless locks we're using. They're very different. Wi-Fi lock is one thing, and
we gotta be ready for this. You looking into this for us? We on this?
Oh, of course. I already ordered a couple of demo units. It should be here soon. But Wi-Fi locks are coming out. Just leveraging all automation, looking at AI and how AI could become very prevalent in the real estate space. I think a lot of people are using it for the cold calling and the prospecting, but I'm thinking about the clients and the tenants. What's the tenant experience going to look like when AI is there? When they can call in and AI can take care of everything for you. And you're only going to need human capital for the real task, right?
Yeah.
Not that, hey, I need this real quick, like 5-minute task. It's like, hey, the unit is burning down. I need somebody to come over here. AI can't help you there. Yeah. But AI is going to take over a lot of these repeated tasks that we currently have right now. And then outside of that, just businesses should always look at the efficiencies of their technology. And as you scale and as you grow, is that tech that you worked on a year ago, 2 years ago, still prevalent to your business model now? And if it's not, how do we adapt and how do we change? And I think we've talked about this a few times. How do we get new locks, or how do we get new computers, or how do we get new systems in place that actually fit the vision now so that you could scale endlessly?
Yeah, I think that's great. And I mean, there's a lot there to obviously unpack. And I can tell you too also, like, Junior's upgraded our camera system. It's an NOI booster. I mean, you're able to basically pass the cost via a smart tech fee, which boosts your NOI, right? But residents love it. Your building's more secure. Everything's more safe. There's no 2 a.m. I lost my key calls, right? I mean, these smart locks are so wild. You get a push notification that you can customize. Like our maintenance guys get a push notification when every lock has 25% battery life remaining. Part of our weekly walkthroughs, we get those battery updates. So we know what's going on in all buildings. They even tell you if someone tampers with the lock.
Yep.
I mean, it's absolutely wild. And it saves, the biggest thing too for your NOI, it also saves on insurance when your building's got all the smart cameras and all the smart tech. So we're operators at heart. We're nerds. I know not everybody is. That's a really big thing. Also, I want to give Junior a shout out. Junior's also one of our sponsors for the PGA Hope golf tournament, and you do a lot for veterans, and we really appreciate that. Appreciate you always being involved. Hope to see you. Are you gonna be able to make the tournament this year?
No, I'll be on vacation.
Oh wow! Yeah. See, that's when you know you're
big
rich.
time. And shows up
That's
late,
when you know,
goes on vacation for golf tournaments.
Goes on vacation. These fucking rich people. I'm telling you, you can't keep up.
I'm learning from you guys.
You know, bro. There it is. Well,
Not me.
Matt's always
I
gone.
stay put.
You know what I mean? Matt's gone every other week. I'm always here grinding. So we'll go from there. Junior, before we get out of here, where can people get in touch with you and learn more?
Yeah, they can find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Anziani TS. That's our business page, and at AnzianiTS.com.
One more time, Anziani.
TS.com.
That was a little bit slower. You're going like a Ferrari right there.
I'm
Trying to go
Dominican.
more
I speak
forward,
fast.
You know what I mean? I love that. As always, he's Matthew Hitchcock. I'm Michael Ketchen. Bet on yourself.